When we observe the fast in the month of Ramadan and we refrain from water, food, and intimacy during the day, it means that we're essentially establishing the basic form of the fast. We have done what was required or what is required to observe the fast. But there's numerous indications in the Prophet's words, alayhi salatu wasalam, that though this may fulfill the bare minimum of what we call a sawm or fast, that there's still yet more to it. There's still more to the fast than the refrainment. And some of these indications are given in his words, alayhi salatu wasalam, when he says that for some people, all they take from the fast is thirst and hunger. And all they take from praying at night is the mere fact that they've just stayed awake or they've lost their sleep. So while they observed the fast in terms of refrainment from water, food, and intimacy, all that they've attained in the end is just hunger and thirst, indicating that there's still something more that was possible for them to attain that they didn't. He also indicated, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that fasting has something in relation to our moods and our behaviors. He said, if someone is fasting, don't engage in obscene behavior or obscene language. And if someone tries to pick a fight with you, remind yourself that you're fasting. Now, if fasting was all about just refrainment from food and drink, then what use would it be for us to remind ourselves that we're fasting just simply because someone is trying to provoke us? Because provocation when fasting can lead to other things. A person's hungry, a person's thirsty, their mood has changed, maybe they become a bit more agitated and provoked much more easily, and that would lead them to do other things. But reminding a person that you're fasting is meant to calm that agitation down, such that a person does not act of provocation. But the reason we ought not to act out of provocation is because the fast is not simply about refraining. It's not simply about keeping away from food and drink, but it's meant to have another purpose. There's another end to it. This is further indicated in another hadith of the Messenger of God, in which he says that a person who engages in a false testimony while they're fasting, then Allah has no need for that person's fast. Allah has no need for that person to stay away from food and drink. But if a person's fasting and they're staying away from food and drink, that's one thing, they're observing the fast. What would that have to do with a false testimony? That's something completely different. Because observing the fast whilst engaging in behaviors that act against the spirit of the fast in some way spoils the fast. Because the fast is simply, again, it's not simply about refraining from something, but it's a meaning and a purpose that extends beyond that. And in the month of Ramadan, as we continue with our fasting and we observe the prayers at night and the fasting during the day, we probably come across situations and scenarios throughout the day and night in which we may have to even remind ourselves that beyond the hunger and the thirst, there's something subtle, almost mysterious about the fast and why we do it in this particular way. That in and of itself makes our fast a spiritual endeavor. And that search for that meaning itself is one of the highest forms of spiritual wayfaring.